I'm going to open up with a controversial statement here. Is taking your shirt off an act of empowerment, or is it just a shallow flex for Instagram? This is the debates that I've had in my story the last couple of days. So usually every so often, or most days, I'll post a daily debate. And one daily debate that came to mind was, you always see it, especially when a Hyrox is coming up. It's like, oh, people taking their shirts off for Hyrox, they're so self-centered and all this sort of stuff. So I threw it up. Originally, the first post that I put up was that those who criticise people taking their tops off are usually insecure about their own body image. That got a bunch of people, I guess, maybe triggered. But there was a bit of a divide in who agreed with that statement, who disagreed. Now, these aren't statements that I truly believe. I just like to see where people's opinions are. Anyway, today I put out the opposite, which was, let me bring it up. It was, should taking your top off when working out be banned? Or the daily debate just saying you shouldn't take your top off when working out, right? Now, this one is actually almost split down the middle. We're at currently at 43 versus, oh no, sorry, it's just updated. It's updated 61% disagree, 39% do agree. So very, very split decision out there. And this is what today's episode is going to be, a bit of a Q&A, a debrief before Hyrox, which is in a couple of days. And yeah, just to catch up, just to chit chat with you guys. No kind of harsh topics, but I did put a question box up on my Instagram, and I've got a bunch of really good questions, so we'll cover them off shortly. But this whole conversation around taking your top off or not, it's an interesting one. I went back and forth with it. Now, there's a category of individuals I want to exclude from this, and this is bodybuilders. That in itself is almost a topic to talk about, because very strongly that's linked to body dysmorphia and body image issues, where there's this constant obsession over how your body looks, right? These guys and girls are doing this for their competition. They're doing it for their sport that they have chosen. So all power to them. Those category of people we're going to exclude from this conversation, right? And we're just going to talk about, is there any value taking your top off, or is it just pure shallow? Well, there's two sides to this. I genuinely believe, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I want to try and be not so biased on it. At the same time, try and see it from another view, right? So let's start with those who don't agree with people taking their tops off. Well, I think the pretty obvious one is it can seem very self-centered. It can be quite an arrogant act, and I guess you could go as far as say selfish act. And I completely understand the type of character that comes to mind when they're constantly taking their tops off and they're flexing and all this sort of stuff, right? It's just an obsession over self-love. But what I would say to that is you're much more than your body, right? So it's not just about looks, although a lot of people will probably lean on that side of things, especially single people, right? And this is maybe why I can't weigh in on this, because obviously me and Jill been together for 12 years. I'm not taking my top off on a Hyrox to get birds to catcall me and that sort of stuff. I do it for my own reasons, which I'll come on to, because there's generally valid reasons. But that camp, I can understand individuals getting annoyed, what the fuck are you doing? And it's a constant in the mirrors and just in the way in the gym. Now, in the UK, there's no need, in fact, just strong gym etiquette rules. In public gyms, don't need your top on. There's no need to take your top off. We don't live in a climate where it is fucking roasting, piping, and it's obviously against most gym rules. In your small box PT studios, cool if you want to rip it with your mates and everybody takes their tops off and do their thing, then it's your private facility, you can do what you want. But I don't know why so many people have a problem with it, right? And I originally put up the debate saying those who have the biggest problem with it are usually insecure about their own bodies. And I kind of I do stand on that point. However, and I know it's not just as clean cut with that, because it's so fucking annoying when it's about the flexing and all that sort of stuff, right? See, when you're doing a Hyrox, and this is why I'm excluding bodybuilders from this conversation, because the guys are posing and they're flexing because they're competing in something Now, I understand if you're a younger guy or girl, you're flexing, you check yourself out in the mirror. I get it, right? We've all fucking done it. But see, guys are still kind of 30s and mid-30s, sometimes older, 40s and all that sort of stuff. It's all well and good to like flex your hard work, kind of check yourself out. Nothing wrong with that. But see, when it's a constant, like the whole grid is just shirtless pictures or half-naked pictures of them, it is an obsession of your body image that ain't going to lead to, well, it's not going to end well, should I say, because we do get older. And that's when you start seeing filters getting used. That's when you see people photoshopping, and then people going and taking the cosmetic route, getting their fillers and all sorts augmented. So it generally can lead to that. Maybe we've actually not done a body image episode in a little while. It's probably good to circle back to that and maybe address some of those points. Now, practical reasons for it, right? I'll be brutally honest. I do it very rarely, but I do it. And the times that I do it is when I'm wearing a thick t-shirt and I'm sweating my box in, because you get better freedom, it feels nicer, and it's easier. It's easier to feel to work out in. And absolutely everyone should, right? So if you are in an event like Hyrox, or you're doing a CrossFit event, and as well, it's not as if women can do the same, is it? But as a guy, like, we have the luxury, we can whip our tops off. Even wearing a tank top or a vest, like, is still like, if it's a high sweat event, you'll feel it. Like, it's not a nice feeling, that stickiness of sweat, like, just rubbing against you. So that's generally the main reason that I'll whip my t-shirt off. And don't get me wrong, like, catch myself when I get up, I'm like, woof, didn't realise I've looking quite shredded now, or looking a wee bit jacked from doing a certain exercise. But for me, it's very rarely about body image. I know I'm in good shape. I don't need to over glorify it by chucking pictures out, because the me being in shape is a byproduct of what I'm chasing. So I'm chasing performance. Me being in shape is me tightening up my nutrition and being smart with my training and doing my compound lifts and my resistance training on a regular basis. And as a byproduct, I've got a decent amount of muscle, and I've got a decent amount of lean muscle as well. And that, I guess, that goes hand in hand with the nutrition side of things. I'm not taking my top off to show off necessarily. However, like any sort of event, you're going to get like eyes on you from those who, I don't know, maybe not as secure about their own body image. And I get that. I do understand that. But see, the people that will criticise this in the Hyrox space, and let's stick up for the Hyroxers for a second. From the outside looking in, it looks so obnoxious. It does. Everybody whipping their tops off, and the guys all kind of rubbing shoulder to shoulder. See, when you're in the event, no one cares. No one's eyeing up each other's physiques. You sometimes see the absolute jacked, out of place bodybuilder that is clearly trained for his aesthetics and not really trained for his performance. You see him, and you're like, fucking hell, that guy's jacked, but he's not coming anywhere near the performance side of things. And it's weird how that stands out. It's just weird how, although we're at a performance event, it's all about, it's a race, it's a fitness race at the end of the day. Yet you're drawn, your eyes are drawn, and you're always, well, I don't know if it's maybe it depends on the type of person, I guess, because I've got history with bodybuilding, and it's really what got me into fitness in the first place. To me, I'll be kind of drawn to someone who is more jacked and shredded because it catches your eye. But I do think that's for most people. And look, don't get me wrong, sometimes people are doing it for the attention, but so what? Like, don't waste your energy on it. Like, don't let it ruin your day. Because them, like, showboating or attention seeking, like, very rarely are people kind of rub it in your face. Like, you can tell who are doing it for the Instagram side of things. And don't get me wrong, like, it wasn't part of the reason, but I was like, oh, I'm quite excited to get my picture back, so you have a look. And I'm looking at it, and I know straight away, I'm like, I could be shredded. Or sorry, I could have been more shredded. I could have been more jacked, but that wasn't the goal. And it's like a tiny little thought that came into my mind and completely eradicated it, because I was like, I genuinely couldn't care if I was 3% leaner. It wasn't going to change anything about that course for me. So wanted to open up with that one. So I thought it was quite an interesting one, an interesting debate. And there's obviously a big part of the culture in Hyrox is just, the guys are most guys are kind of racing with their tops off, and some race with their tops on. Who cares, right? Who genuinely cares? The guys that choose to take the tops off, cool, do your thing. Those who choose to keep their tops on, cool, do your thing. At the end of the day, there is an element of confidence, and there is something to be said about being confident in your own skin. You don't have to be like 8% body fat or absolutely jacked to the gills. You just need to be confident, right? And this is where this sort of showboating side of things can put a lot of people off. It's like, oh, I can't take my top off because look at the size of that guy over there. There's a bit of imposter syndrome, a bit of, nah, like I'm too small for this. Like, shut up. Like, that's got nothing to do with that whole thing. Confidence comes from within. And you can't keep comparing yourself to like other people, because you don't have the same body, first of all, genetics or even conditioning that you can apply to your own physique. Everyone's got their own unique parts of their body. And what I would say here is you're way much more than your body. Your body is, yes, it's one part of this puzzle, but how you perform and how you show up and how strong you feel, that carries you way more. And I would say that the very first Hyrox event we done it in Spain. Everyone's tanned. Every guy's fucking 6'3", looked like a young Cristiano Ronaldo, right? So straight away I'm thinking, there's a lot of good looking guys here. Maybe this is just like, hear me out here. I know I just stopped the sense here, but maybe this is because I'm in a long-term relationship, but you could definitely tell, like, or you could definitely feel that of, man, everyone's jacked here, they're tanned, they're shredded. But although that thought initially came in, as I said, it didn't faze me at all, because I was like, well, I know I can deadlift double my body weight, I can bench nearly double my body weight, I can squat double my body weight. Like, those core aspects of what makes fitness, to me, I'm ticking the boxes for what I want to pursue. And I highly recommend you do the same. So if your definition of fitness is to be able to do a sub 20-minute 5K, latch on to that. Fuck how your body looks. If you're able to achieve that goal and you've completed that goal, you don't have to make any judgment or comments on anyone else's physique. And you don't have to be not confident in your own physique, because you have that main pillar. No one can take that away from you. You see what I mean? So everyone's performance and everyone's genetics and the way that they look is going to be different. But I think that's a very important point to just start in here to think about. Anyway, today we are talking about, what are we talking about? We're not talking about anything. We're talking about Q&A. So I'm going to get the questions up. We got a couple of questions. I always leave these last minutes, but here we go. So to bring it up. Okay, first question from a good friend Brian. To create habits, how do you start to change things and keep on track or tracking it? Now, I know the question box ain't that big, but to create habits, how do you start to change things? Right, I'll answer this in how I think the question's been asked. Creating new habits, how do you stick to them, I guess, is the main underlying thing. It's like anything. It's anything that we do in life. When we make a big change, typically this time of the year, we want to implement things that we haven't done that we know is going to be good for us. Now, breaking a habit down, good habit, bad habit, it's going to be different from person to person. Now, there's general assumptions we can make for, okay, getting to the gym is most likely a good habit, but getting to the gym twice a day, every single day, can be seen as a bad habit. You start missing out with friends. Maybe you're a dad, maybe you're a mum and you're not seeing your kids. So you see what I mean? Like, they can be a tip of the scales to both sides. So first thing first is addressing what habits is it that you'd like to achieve. Write down habits that you want to be doing, and then write down habits that you want to do, but you don't think you've got the consistency or discipline to do them. And this is a really good one. So I was having this conversation with a client today who has never ran before and wants to start running, wants to run for a charity event. And this almost seems like a dream aspiration, but there's a little part in her head, a little voice going, oh, that'd be cool to do. And it goes back to the episode that I just done where I done the 100 kilometers and 100 kilo bench press, because I had the exact same voice. My voice was, oh, I can never do that, which then became, but what if I could? And that would be cool to do. So that's why I like saying always when you're looking at your goals and you're your aspirations, especially in fitness. Write down what's things that you would love to be able to do, but like even if you think you can achieve or not, write that down in a dream category. And then you start reverse engineer. So let's say the habits you've wrote down are, well, let me actually give you some pillars of habits is probably a good thing, because a lot of people can be lost. Like for one person, it could be cutting out fizzy drinks, right? Cutting out full fat sugar drinks, getting calories from juice across the board ain't a good strategy in terms of the use of the nutrition that you have majority of the time. Okay, so it can be had in moderation, nights out, parties, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm going to have a wee can of cola. Having it every single day, however, yeah, like it's not going to, shouldn't be a thing that's part of the diet plan or part of the nutrition plan. Okay, can it be? Yes, but highly don't recommend it. Okay, so say in this instance, I find that I drink 3 cans of cola every single day. So you recognise there's a part of your life there where I'm just doing it out of habit, right? And this is the interesting thing. Usually the habit we want to do, we have to kind of reverse it a little bit, or the habit we want to achieve, we're already doing a habit in the opposite direction. Another example would be you want to get out for a morning walk. Well, your habit is you're snoozing your alarm and you're sleeping in. So it's like the habit's already established. We're just trying to flip it and do the opposite. Now, there's a kind of standard book, Atomic Habits, goes into a lot of details into all those pillars, but I'll break down the key findings or the key parts that I took away from that you can apply for your habits. So first things first is tracking it is for me, it's a must, because it allows you to review and go, did I actually do that as often as I said? The amount of people I speak to, it's like, yeah, I'm eating well. And it's like, well, what do you mean you're eating well? What does that look like? So I'm making better food choices. Right? Again, what does that look like? Oh, like I'm hitting my protein and I'm doing all this, right? When? Every single day? A majority of the days. And then you start asking questions, you get deeper into it, and then you realise it was maybe 2 decisions or 2 good meals of the week that were being good, and the majority of the week's bad, because you remember the thing that's outside the norm, which is going to be the thing that you're not doing in this case. Back to, like I was saying, like cutting out the juice, you're going to remember the days where you don't cut out the juice, but the days where you drank the juice, that will just merge into the one. So having something that you can track, just a nice easy tick, done it, or cross, didn't. And then work up a bit of history on a 14-day cycle, I would say, like 2 weeks. Can you get 2 weeks of consistently doing that habit? Once you're by the 2-week mark, you're reviewing how many days, or what is your streak. So you're going until you break the streak. Let's say it starts with 4 days, streak gets broken. Well, guess what? You just start you start again, because you're not defined by one bad decision. The pendulum will always swing the other way. Life will get in its way, but you're working up. You try to stack as many wins as you can against days where you haven't done. So let's say you start this today. There is 340 days left of the year. So you're trying to get 4-day streak. Back to the start. Okay, right. Can I get a 5-day streak? Can I get a 6-day streak? Before you know it, that mentality will have stacked up in your favor, where if you look at the month, you might have 22 days of doing the habit and 8 interrupted days of breaking the habit, which is pretty fair game, isn't it? It's better than just trying and as soon as you fall at the first hurdle going, I can't do this. So that's probably step 1. Step 2, and this is often referred to as the getting 1% better every day. Kaizen is the kind of Japanese term that refers to that. And there's great running club of running band. Why the fuck did I say that? Running club that have adopted that brand and made it kind of really cool. But focusing on getting 1% better every day. I'm sure in the book Atomic Habits they talk about the cycling team, and that the British cycling team, and I'm going to completely butcher this, but ultimately they were on the longest losing streak ever. They brought in this coach, and this coach just focused on getting 1% better every day. So tweaking the gears, tweaking the equipment, tweaking the fueling, and over time they became the one of the best teams. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they went on to win it a good consecutive few years in a row. So things like that do generally stack up. That whole marginal difference when you're a couple of episodes talking about analogy, 2 planes taking off at the same time. If one is 1% or 1 degree off to the right, you follow both planes down a long enough journey and there'll be a massive gap between them. So it doesn't seem much in the beginning, but it genuinely stacks up as time gets on. The other thing would be picking smaller habits, especially for you guys who feel that your discipline's low, or and see, when I say that, I know a lot of you guys are going to feel attacked. No, my discipline's not low. Well, it is if you're trying to do some habits and you've never been successful in it, and that's all right. So what we need to do is pick easier wins for you to accumulate, because that's going to give you momentum, and it's also going to give you confidence to carry over and attack some of those bigger dreams. The other couple that kind of the book talks about that work really well is making sure it ties towards something of your character. So let me think an example. If you're someone who hates running, but you're going to put a habit in of running, I don't know if that's the best strategy, because there's a crossroad of you've got this negative kind of outlook on running itself, and then the opposing argument or the opposing kind of frame of mind is, no, I'm just going to do it every day. I don't think anyone ever quit smoking you always hear those stories where mum and dad found out about smoking, so they got them to smoke 30 fags a day and they never smoked again. It's not how it works. You're just like, oh, I'm kind of off that, but your bad habit, your quote unquote bad habit, starts to creep back in. So in Atomic Habits, there's like 4, they refer to it as the 4 laws of behavior change, which is cue, craving, response, and reward. Now, how that basically breaks down is, let's say in this example, like cue would be like making it obvious, right? So an example would be like, let's say you want to go to the gym in the morning. Say to yourself, you're going to get up in your first alarm. First of all, you need to set the right alarm. The other thing, the night before, making sure your gym clothes are ready. Nice, easy one. It's obvious, it's there in front of you. So you're having less barriers to overcome. So the second part, which is craving, make it attractive. So let's say it's getting into the gym. Well, what's things that you enjoy? You've got your favourite playlist. You might have your favourite, buy a new gym outfit, listen to a fantastic podcast like this, train with a friend. So do something that's going to make it a little bit more enjoyable, and that will get you over the fear or get you over that first hurdle. So 3 is response, which is make it easy. I guess it's kind of like setting your clothes out the night before, but the way I would look at this is, let's say it's to get a gym session in or get 2 gym workouts in a week. We'll make them 15 minutes, right, to start with. You know, you could do a 15-minute one. It seems like an easy thing to achieve. Do that, and then before you know it, it's 20, it's 30, it's 40. And then you're kind of meeting the minimum criteria. If you want to walk out after 15 minutes, then cool. But in your mind, you're not going to be seeing it as a failure. You're going to see it as a win. And then the last one comes under reward, which is make it satisfying. So reinforcing the positive feeling after exercising. So that's why the tracker's a good one, because you're like tick, tick, tick. And then you get that dopamine hit. Yeah, I fucking done something I said I wanted to do. And sometimes like the social media stuff can also be like the boom, we pitch it up, feel good, like telling putting out there, whole world, yeah, I worked out today. So yeah, that's the kind of breakdown of those 4 laws of behavior change. Now, other things to kind of help with your whole habit stuff, like just keep at it, right? Try not use things like bad habits and good habits. Just think about habits as a whole and think, right, what is some things that I want to start doing? Track it, and before you know it, I would say after you've got that cycle, you've got that loop going, 30, 60 days in is starting to be imprinted. And then you go back to, you maybe fall out of kilter or you fall out of this cycle that you're in of doing the good habit, and you go back to the full fat juice, and then you have it and you're like, ugh, that's not as nice as what I thought. That's a win. You've created this new sort of map in your brain. Imagine this kind of snow track. You've created this new track off to the right that's getting you onto bigger and better things. So I hope that answered that one. It was maybe a wee bit long-winded. Is there anything else I want to say in that one? There's some like nuanced things like never miss twice. As gym bros or PTs, fucking love that one. It's a good one to think about. Never miss a Monday falls into that. Environmental things. So if you're in an environment where you're trying to cut out full fat juice, for example, don't have it in the house, right? If you've got cans in the house, then you're going to feel that inclination when you're a wee bit more stressed and a wee bit more tired to walk in and get it. So create barriers for the things you don't want to do and reduce the barriers for the things that you do. That's what's worked the best for me. Okay, next question. I don't think it's a question. I think it's based off the poll I put up. There's absolutely zero reason to be taking your top off in public gyms or public events. Public gyms, I absolutely agree with. Public events like Hyrox, then I want to have every advantage possible. It's an absolute sweat fest in there. It's a heat box and a half. So I'm gonna take my top off. Okay, I might race in a tank top as well, but I don't want to have that as I say, that wet, sticky top sitting on my back. So I disagree with that one. Love to know what you guys think on that. Again, this comes from someone who's insecure about their own body. I'm only messing. They'll know who it is if they listen to this. Right, we're getting into interesting questions. I've got a Hyrox question here, but I'm going to put that at the end because I do want to do like a wee recap of what my plan is going into Hyrox this coming Saturday. So 2 days after this comes out. Right, how big would you dream if you know you wouldn't fail? So if I knew I couldn't fail, what would be a dream that kind of pops into mind? You know, I seen this pop up earlier and I was like, oh, good question. I never gave it any thought. Something that comes to mind for me is I would fix the lack of strength, lack of fitness, and lack of muscle that majority of our population fixes around the world. That is what I would go after, because I genuinely think fitness is the gateway to feeling better mentally, feeling better physically, better in your relationships, better in your career choices, better in just overall life. To me, it starts with fitness. It starts with getting stronger, and that has knock-on effects to finding all these other kind of wonderful things that life has to offer. So that's where my head goes. It's a good question. There's a question for you. How big would you dream if you know you wouldn't fail? What's something that comes to mind? If you know you couldn't fail anything and whatever comes into your mind you can go off and achieve, what would that be? I know a lot of people say like, oh, I'll be like millionaires and financially free. And like, I don't know if it's just a part of when you become a business owner or you have a strong passion. It just seems to be always shaped around that. Because don't get me wrong, love to never have to work a day again in my life. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, what would I be doing? Okay, I'd be going on holiday, spend time with Cooper and Jill, and we'd see the world. And then we'd get to a point where there's only so much of that you can do. So then you go, right, what else would you want to do? Well, fulfillment and helping other people is a big part of that. So it's like, okay, I'd do charity work. What would I do for charity work? I'd do stuff around fitness. That's where my head goes. Okay, another pretty deep question, which I guess isn't along the same lines, but it's going to be a hard one to answer. If you had unlimited budget, how would you get your local community into health and fitness? Oh, good question. So if there was no like cap in terms of budget, I think, so first things first, I would have the curriculum around personal training and becoming a personal trainer be more emphasized on movements, be more emphasized on things that can dramatically improve everyone's health and fitness of things that we're all facing. So if you look at cancers, you look at the amount of medications we need, you look at all the drugs. Building strength and building muscle doesn't completely eradicate all that, but it gives you a massive chance of surviving those things if implemented correctly, right? So then it would be around movement patterns, making sure trainers are fully developed on their main compound lifts. Not even just the main compound lifts, but any barbell movement, any dumbbell movement. Machines are pretty much self-explanatory, but so they could get into hitting the ground running when they came to coaching. Then I would have, we're talking about unlimited budget here, so this would never happen, but every single person can have a dedicated personal trainer. Every single person. And you'd have people that cater to different needs and all these sort of things. Having someone pay or not have that for free is the only thing that just doesn't really work in reality. So, but what I would do is build multiple gyms. I'd build multiple small group facilities, which then brings people into the group setting. And I think that's as far as my sort of brains went just now. It's a hard one. Like, get into your get the local community into fitness. I think there has to be something around fun. So see what Hyrox are doing in different fitness games or sports days. They're great because there's a competition element that usually drives everyone. There's a bit of camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. So in a local community, there'd be like the fucking council games, right? The council games of your area or your town, and you compete against other towns and all that sort of stuff. But it's so hard. See, when you get unlimited money, it doesn't really work because the person needs to be bought in, or they'll never do it. They just simply won't. You can't change someone's mind with just chucking money at it, making it for free. I do a lot of stuff for free, and it still doesn't get the masses to make that decision for fitness. So I guess the answer on one hand would be building more gyms and facilities for people, because I know you think that, oh man, there's gyms everywhere, but see, if you think about the population of your city or town, still not enough. It's mental. So there's plenty of people to get into fitness. So that would solve the kind of bottleneck of busy gyms and all that sort of stuff. The other thing would be a tax. I generally would implement some sort of tax that if you never met the minimum requirements of, I don't know, this is the hard thing because I'm kind of thinking on the spot here, but if you never met the minimum requirements of something and you then don't meet the minimum requirements again in a sort of 12-week period where you can see a lot of kind of gains with very, I would say, minimal effort, with 1 or 2 workouts a week, you pay more council tax. You pay more, I don't know, I was going to say VAT, but I don't know how you'd collect it. I generally think that would be, that is it's obviously got loopholes that I'm not thinking about, and people might be screaming at this podcast. But I generally think would be a way of looking at it, because if you are looking after your health and your fitness, you, as an individual, you're less strain on some of the other things that happen in our society. So you've got a better chance of having a better quality of life. You're more likely to be in a better headspace. You don't have to use the NHS and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't mean you can't use it. I just mean that from a payment point of view, the pay of pain, like, I think it's too easy to pay a Netflix subscription and eat a bunch of fast food. And look, don't get me wrong, working out and having a personal trainer is it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to pay money for someone to train you. And that's the only part that kind of gets me, is like, right, everyone has a kind of free, dedicated trainer that they can work with. I'm kind of rambling here. So let me know how you would answer that one. If you had unlimited budget, how would you get your local community into health and fitness? I'd love to hear. I think that's a good question. Right, on to the last question here, which is, what's your Hyrox goals this weekend time-wise? Well, for me, I would have loved to get just under 60 minutes. Would be a huge, huge win. However, my mental doubles partner, Scott, wants to get under 55, right? And we've crunched the numbers. It's absolutely doable. And that's what makes it scary to say this out loud. Under 55 would be insane. Which basically, the way that I break this down is our workout scores, right? So see the total time of me and Scott working out, smoking some of those stations. In fact, smoking majority of the stations. The only one that's a wee bit nervous, or there's a wee bit like toing and throwing with, is the walking lunges and the sled pull. Sled pull, just where we've practiced, we can't get an accurate reading of the right time in the right conditions, because it's obviously going to be different day. And the walking lunges, we've been using a 25 kilo bag and try to swap that over. But workout times, we're trying to get under the 18-minute mark, right? So that then gives us 4 minutes to do each kilometre. So 18 plus 32. That gives us 50 minutes all in. The typical Hyrox rock zone in Manchester is about 4 to 5 minutes. On the good scores, it's 3 minutes 30, right? So when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, so the runs are absolutely going to be so difficult. Trained hard for them. Man, my run pace was about 5, 5:10, 5:30. Scott was quick. Scott was down at the 4:15-ish, I would probably say, for the whole 8K. When we've done our track sessions and all that sort of stuff, we're getting under that 4 minute and we're holding under that 4 minute. It might tiptoe towards the 4:10, but time will tell. It's exciting to put it together and just go out there and leave absolutely everything on that floor. Because I think I've said it on here anyway. It'd be lying if I said I don't want to win, right? I think that's just a natural instinct from anyone who competes, especially if you've got a background that's similar to mine where you loved PE in high school and you were very sporty. Of course you want to win, right? It's just, there's an instinctual nature within us that we have that aspiration to win. Whether I win or not, I'm not going to be like absolutely gutted or disheartened. I will be if it's like 2 or 3 seconds, right? Because it's literally sitting on a cup of water or whatever. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is there is an aspiration to dominate and go in and finish top. And that's why I picked Scott as to do this with, because I thought, well, he's fucking absolutely rapid anyway. And I know he's got this grit when he's in that pain cave, that absolute like all out. He's got a 6th, a 7th, and 8th gear that he can pull into to power through. And it's only 50 minutes, or it's only 60 minutes of working out. So that's where my time is at. What I was doing, it was very interesting actually, right? So let me bring this up. I'll bring this up on screen. So your world record times, right? If you look at Manchester, the world record, or no, the most recent Manchester that was done in 53 minutes, I think it was 30 minutes and 16 seconds of running. Run 1 was 2 minutes 45. Run 2 was 3:47, 3:54, 3:57, 4:02, 3:55, 3:53, 4:05. Very, very strong running pace. Now, when you look at the workout time, actually not as bad. Not as quick as where the world record doubles times are sitting. So total workout time was 20 minutes and 17. The skier took them 3 minutes 32. The sled was 1 minute 28. The pull was 2:18. The burpees were 2 minutes and 9 seconds. The row was 4 minutes. Farmer's carries 1:16. Walking lunges 2:14. And the wall balls 3:20. Every single one of them, very, very impressive scores. Now, when me and Scott done our simulation where we were running on ice and slightly uphill a bit, but I guess it's very hard to max the conditions. But what I can tell you is I hit my watch when we started the station and I stopped my watch when we started the station. And coming into those stations, our legs were under fatigue. And comparing that to those times there, that simulation was 4 weeks ago as well, right? Timings wise, we got ski erg in 3 minutes and 26 seconds. So that's like 5 seconds quicker. The sled, we got 4 minutes and 4 minutes, fucking hell. 1 minute and 47 seconds, right? Now that is dramatically slower than the other one, but we had to swap the poles over 7 times, right? So that alone, like there's a wee bit of like fatigue there. That was a heavier sled. Our sled pull was 3:31, so a good minute slower than where it needs to be. Our burpees were a 1:56. Our row was a 3:41. Our farmer's carries was a 1:27. Our lunges was a 2:36, and our wall balls was a 3:18. So very, very strong numbers just 4 weeks ago. Absolutely can smoke the workouts. The time will tell when you're putting the runs and all that together. And that's what I'm excited to do this weekend. And hopefully, like when I was talking about the challenge beforehand, by Monday, I'm sharing some good news that we went out there and we hit our sub 55 minute goal. So call me crazy. I don't care. As I said, like you need to aim high. And if you don't hit it, then in failure, there's always more lessons as to what you can do for next time. And that's exactly what that's that approach that we're going to take. Scott always says that second place is just first loser. And that's what I'm just telling myself in my head. So yeah, so that kind of wraps up the questions. If you want your question asked, or if you want me to answer your questions on here, then make sure you're following me on Instagram at Coach Crossar. you can always reach out. You can always send me a DM, and if we can always keep it anonymous if you wanted to, and I can answer it as a topic in the show if there's something that you'd like us to cover. We will be kind of moving back to guest episodes soon after this weekend, back to a wee bit of normality, a wee bit of lifting, a wee bit of just normal training that I've actually missed, and none of this conditioning, high intensity stuff. So looking forward to that. And yeah, we'll wrap things up there. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. As always, if you've listened this far and you haven't already, consider leaving a 5-star rating on Spotify. It helps me get more exposure, and it just helps the show out massively. Make sure you're following us on YouTube as well, at Bulletproof Mindset on YouTube. And the Hyrox updates and vlogs that we've been doing is on the Coach Crossar page, which is Coach Crossar Bulletproof Coaching. I think I absolutely butchered that. Yeah, if you just type in Coach Crossar, it'll come up and it'll say Coach Crossar Bulletproof Coaching. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.